Hi guys, so welcome to my first YouTube video. I want to start these videos off with a positive note, and I want to start off by saying that everyone that I've ever met that is pro-life or pro-choice or who has something to say or who I speak to or who I encounter, they have a deep passion for helping women. They care so much, and there's a lot of people out there who don't. There's a lot of people out there who just sit and be bystanders and let people deal with their own problems. I don't think that's the best way to help our world and our country. I think standing up for our beliefs is the best way, and I just want to say that pro-life or pro-choice, I commend you on standing up for what you believe in. It is unfortunate that right now we don't agree on the way to help women. One day we will, but I commend you for it, and we're both in the same boat here. We're both fighting for what we believe in, and we both want the best for women, don't we? I know I do. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the My Body, My Choice statement. I shared a video on my Instagram a little while ago, and it was a scene from Unplanned, and if you've never seen the movie, it's about Abby Johnson, who was a Planned Parenthood coordinator. She actually was in charge of an entire Planned Parenthood, and she did that for many years, and she also had 2 abortions herself. She had a really impactful experience one day when she was actually assisting with an abortion, and normally she wasn't in the room. Normally she was kind of overseeing things, and yeah, she knew what happened, but she wasn't normally in the room with these women. She had a traumatic experience where she looked at the ultrasound, and when the woman was having an abortion, she saw the baby fighting to survive before it was killed. And since then, she left Planned Parenthood and is exposing them and sharing the hurt that she went through and the loss that she experienced of her 2 children. And this is a similar story for a lot of women, including my own mother. I would have an older sister, you know, if certain options weren't available. So, yeah. Unplanned, the scene that I shared was from Abby Johnson, a part of her life. It's a true story. It was in a movie filmed, but it was a recount of her real experience. So yes, if you were wondering, it's not over exaggerated, it's not fake. If you watch an abortion procedure or if you've ever had one, you know that that's pretty accurate to what happens, and these women aren't really educated going into this experience. But I got a response to the video that I thought was pretty graphic. Depiction of the baby in the womb struggling to survive, and they said it's her body, it's her choice. And so I really just want to come to an understanding as a country and an understanding as a world as to what is her body, what is not her body, and what is her choice. So the first thing, we're just going to start from the most basic step. We're going to start from the most basic level, okay? Like literally the moment of conception, okay? The moment that that sperm joins with the egg in the fallopian tube and travels down and implants in the uterus, if that fertilized egg was to be at that moment removed from the womb and picked apart and studied, you would find that created in that moment was a completely unique and brand new genetic code of DNA that has never existed before and will never exist again. A completely new unique genetic code from this, you know, in high school they used to say if it was like we took a pen and just put a dot on a piece of paper, that's kind of the size of like what an egg would be like. So this microscopic clump of cells, okay, let's call it for now, is a complete brand new genetic code that has never existed and will never exist again. Okay, I love that phrase. I just keep saying it. Never existed, it will never exist again. A completely new genetic code. So no matter what you label that, whether it's a soul, a baby, a clump of cells, its genetic code is brand new and completely unique, cannot be replicated. It's impossible. So that little being, its genetic code is completely different than that of the mother. If you take a swab of her cells and her DNA and then you compare it side by side with this new being, their genetic makeup is completely different. It's not the same, it's completely different. This new entity, this new being, its genetic makeup, its genetic code, its DNA is completely unique. Has never been created before or will ever be created again. So even at this very first stage, we see the science telling us that this is not a part of anyone's body. When that fertilization happens, a completely unique being and completely unique purpose is created by God. It's given life. It's given uniqueness. It's given wholeness. Okay, so you do the DNA, you do the science, okay, and they're completely different things. This new fertilized egg and this woman have completely different genetic code. All right, let's move a few months further, okay? So I'm gonna ask you a few basic questions. The first is, if you can count right now for me, how many fingers do you have? How many toes? How many eyes? How many hearts? Now, I think I Googled it, and you can Google it too if you want to be sure. But it says in the biology books that a normal human being is born typically with 10 fingers, 10 toes, 1 heart, 2 eyes, and a soul. So I didn't know, though, that at a certain point in one's life that their body could have 20 toes, 20 fingers, 2 hearts, 4 eyes, and 2 souls. I mean, because if you Google right now the human female body, she's got 10 fingers, 10 toes, 1 heart, and 2 eyes. Not the latter. That's the scientific definition of a human female body. Why doesn't it say that they have 20 fingers or 20 toes or 2 hearts, 2 brains? Because that's her body, but there's another body inside of her body. If it was hers, then it would say in the textbooks that sometimes women tend to have 20 toes and 20 fingers, but it doesn't say that. Science. So let's move a little further, okay? There's a study done, all right? And it talks about how important human interaction and touch is, how that can impact us. So actually, let me take a step back. The My Body, My Choice statement has not held up very well to the science. It's pretty easy to debunk this, actually, like I just did quite simply. What really caught my attention and kind of got me thinking, which is why I said it's amazing that, you guys bring these questions forth. It's amazing that neither party, well, what I believe in, I can't just walk around preaching it and saying it. I'm put to the test. I am asked to look at the science. I'm asked to meet people and talk with them. I'm asked to see real life experiences. I'm asked to really understand what I'm saying. And I love that. So something that somebody said to me got me thinking, and I was like, I don't really know what to say to that. That's a really good point. So they said, it is a part of my body, because without me, it could not survive. It's physically dependent on me for survival. It needs my nutrients, it needs the safety of my womb, and without me, it would die. So it is a part of me, and it is my choice on what to do with that part of me, because it couldn't even survive without me. It needs me. It's a part of me. And I was like, dang, that's a good point. Like, it is, dependent on this woman. But upon further research of thinking about how to respond to this, what to say to a woman who is in a crisis situation and is saying, this being is dependent on me, so as much as, I would like to move on with my life, or as much as I feel like I can't take care of them after, and nobody wants to have an abortion. Nobody does, Nobody's walking into a clinic like, this is awesome, I'm so excited, It's a dark time, it's a scary time. And a lot of women say, but they're physically dependent on me, I'm backed into a corner. So, in regards to the My Body, My Choice, and saying that this baby is fully dependent physically on you and that makes it a part of you, there was a study done. This is a article from the New York Times, and then they'll state all of their sources and things. It says, the experience of being touched, new research shows, has direct and crucial effects on the growth of the body as well as the mind. Touch is a means of communication so critical that its absence retards growth in infants, according to researchers who are for the first time determining the neurochemical effects of skin-to-skin contact. Neurochemical, so that's in your brain, right? Of skin-to-skin contact. That's insane. I didn't know that skin-to-skin contact had, neurochemical effects. That's pretty interesting. It says the new work focuses on the importance of touch itself, not merely as part of, say, a parent's loving presence. The findings may help explain the long-noted syndrome in which infants deprived of direct human contact grow slowly and even die. Psychological and physical stunting of infants deprived of physical contact, although otherwise fed and cared for, had been noted in the pioneering work of Harry Harlow, working with primates, and psychoanalyst John Bowlby and Renee Spitz, who observed children orphaned in World War II. So, the point in sharing that with you is that these new lives, and even outside of the womb, as you saw, they're not just dependent on a body or the proper nutrients, the proper things to survive. They were given all of the milk, all of the sleep, all of the warmth, the shelter, the everything. They were just deprived of human touch, and they perished. I think this shows to us that it's not just about these babies needing our bodies to survive. They need us. They need us to be present. They need us to be loving to them. They are just asking for our love, and that's all we have to give. That's what God gives to us. So, another compelling thing that I realized in thinking about the dependence of this infant on the mother, and doesn't that make it a part of her body though? Until I realized, well, let me run through a scenario with you. I have a 2-year-old son. Things are getting rough. I don't have enough money to support him. My husband just left me. I'm getting my car taken from me. I have no job. I just found myself addicted to drugs. I don't want to say cannot. That's something that the world tells us. I think that I cannot support this child. I think that it's out of my power, it's out of my reach. I'm to the point where I no longer feel like I can safely raise this child. I don't have the funds. There's no possible way to keep my 2-year-old son. So I bash his head open and I take my vacuum cleaner, insert it into the opening where I've crushed his skull, and I proceed to vacuum out all of his organs. Because I just can't do it. I just can't. There's no way. There's no way. No, I can't. I can't raise this child. I wasn't ready. You don't understand. So I cracked his skull open, and I took my vacuum hose, and I sucked out his brain and his heart and all of his organs. And then I disposed of them in the trash. That's murder? Is that what I'm hearing? I thought because this 2-year-old is physically dependent on me for survival, that it's a part of my body, thus saying that I can do what I wish with it. Think about it. If that's our argument for saying that a baby is a part of my body, is that they're physically dependent on me, my 2-year-old baby brother, not even 2, 1-year-old baby brother James is physically dependent on my parents for survival. Let's just say, for the sake of things, that, because even I couldn't survive if you throw me out in the wilderness with no food and shelter and I might freeze or starve. Let's say, for the sake of sustainability, that you leave a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old with your entire house, with beds to sleep in, with electricity and plumbing, a fridge full of food, cabinets full of food, cars, everything that somebody would need to survive. But all humans left the picture. This 2-year-old would perish. They would not survive. They would die. They cannot provide for themselves. At the most, maybe get their hands on some food, and even then, the emotional trauma of that would surely be the end to them. So it comes to the point where, if that just ran through your mind when I said, if I bash my 2-year-old son's head open and suck out all his organs and dispose of them in the trash, that's murder, I'm telling you that it's a part of my body because it's physically dependent on me. And if we can come to an agreement together that 2-year-old boy is not a part of my body, if we can say that together, if you can just say it with me, that 2-year-old boy is not a part of my body. Scientifically, is not a part of my body. Science over decades has shown us this. Let's make that step together. And then let's make the step together to say that just because my son is physically dependent on me and could not survive without me, that he's not a part of my body, that if I chose that he was an inconvenience to me, that I could kill him. And let's make the step together to say that that's murder. And if at any of these steps you're not ready to say this, then you're not ready to have an opinion. You're not ready to enter into the arena of trying to help women because you are denying basic science. So step 1 was saying that 2-year-old boy is not a part of my body because he's physically dependent on me. Step 2 is saying that if I decide to kill him because I can't take care of him anymore, that is murder. It's murder. And if we can get to this step, then we can fast forward just a mere 2 years to the point before they exit the womb. A whole new person who I just decide that I can't take care of anymore, and who isn't a part of my body just because they're physically dependent on it, who is a complete, unique, whole, never seen before, never seen again genetic code, who's given purpose, who just needs love, who has a whole life planned out for them, who already has a beating heart and eyes and fingers and toes, that when we choose to kill them out of convenience, that it's murder. Look, I will argue scientifically that that life is not a part of your body, and that's only the first part of the statement. You say, my body, my choice. Well, we already figured out that the baby inside of you is not your body. Scientifically, it's not your body. But it is your choice. It is. It's my choice too. It's my choice to crack open my 2-year-old son's skull and suck his intestines out with a vacuum. It's my choice. Who are you to tell me that I can't do that? Who are you? Are you somebody who knows that the impact that murdering my son will stay with me forever? And that my future children that I have when I'm in a more stable position will never know who they are? That infant in the womb who had a life set out for them already will never meet their future spouse. That person out there who's crying out to God, who's saying, God, please, where are you? I need you. I'm struggling so much. And God is just heartbroken because he said, I had a plan. I had a perfect plan. I had this life that was going to come into the world, and at this moment they were going to be there for you. They were going to send you a text. They were going to show up at your door and ask if you were okay, but somebody decided that they were inconvenient. They didn't trust my plan. They took that life. Maybe you're that person who's telling me that it's murder, it's wrong, and because it is my choice, and it is all of our choices, to choose what is convenient or to put our faith in God and say, you would never hurt me, Lord. You would never lead me astray. You love me, and ultimately, you want to see me enter heaven one day. And, trusting him means that sometimes you have to be led through the darkness of a tunnel, to see the light. We can't just enter that darkness and say, I'm never going to make it out. Or, these feelings and emotions are too much, because if any of you have ever been in a crisis before, if you've ever failed a test, or you've ever broken a bone, or got yelled at by your coach on the soccer team, you know that those feelings don't last. Those feelings of desolation, those feelings of panic are things that subside eventually. But abortion is forever. The 9 months that you might experience of fear and anxiety, and you cast your fears and anxiety on God, and he's with you, is going to lead you to a calm. It's going to lead you out of the storm of those emotions. And if any of you are like me, I act constantly in the storm of my emotion. Constantly I act in the storm of my emotions. If I'm clouded with anger, I'm going to do something that I regret. If I'm clouded with sadness, I'm going to try and punish somebody and end up punishing myself or more people. Or if I'm scared or afraid, I'm going to make a scared and afraid decision. And they're normally brash, and normally I can't see that if I just wait and hold out that better things are to come. And most of the mistakes I've made have been in those rash emotional decisions. Look, I'm telling you that it's not your body. But I'm not telling you that it's not your choice. I am just hoping and praying, and my only wish and my only goal is to help us together come to an understanding that it is murder and it's not your body. And although it's your choice, it should be an educated one. It should be an educated choice. That's all I ever want to try and do is to educate. And I'm not trying to make abortion legal. As surprising as that is, I am trying to make it unthinkable. Because like people say, it's always going to happen. People will find ways. So I'm not trying to make abortion illegal. I'm trying to make it unthinkable. If I was able to have been there in that moment before my own mom had her abortion, if I was able to be out on a sidewalk and I was able to share with her some of these things and say, before you make this choice, make it knowing the facts, make it educated, know all these things before you make this irreversible choice. And I'm doing it for these women who, a lot of them, experienced the negative effects afterwards. And I'm also doing it for lives lost, like what would have been my older sister Rachel, who was lost to an abortion. I'm doing it for everybody who's missing her right now, everybody who God intended for her life to touch. And as long as we stay educated and have open hearts and open minds, and I'm pro-choice as well. I just am not for abortion, and I know that there are better choices than that. I've seen the effects that it has. I'm trying to not only educate your choice on abortion, but I would love to give you better ones, because there's better than that for us. There's better than that for women. And that's all I want for our country, and I hope you took something from this video. If you have any questions, or mostly the information and the sources that I had, feel free to comment below. But other than that, have a blessed day and keep educating and keep fighting.